this is Mary's topic that she thought was really interesting. The funny thing about this is, before we get into it, this is something that I have noticed as well, usually from a different perspective about the blurred lines of what we called the adult entertainment to influencer pipeline, which is not really a pipeline. It's more of a blurred amalgam of both industries that now infest modern culture, if that makes sense.
Like when we were talking about it, you mentioned that previously the pipeline would be someone in mainstream entertainment whose career has descended and now they have to stoop to the adult film industry. There was as the last resort. Right. It's actually a launching pad for a career in mainstream entertainment.
And there was women in those like in porn that would do like B movies, like B horror movies or
B horror. Sorry, like, just wanted to clear that up. Horror. Okay, not
horror.
Yeah. Just checking.
Scary B movies.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And then you had Playboy TV, and they had those industries. And Howard Stern was a big mainstream source of content for women in that industry. They would generally cross over slightly, but it's still felt very segregated. Like they were still shunned by society and kept in their own box over here. Now it feels like those industries have kind of become launching pads, I think because of the democratization of the internet and the ability for people to promote themselves.
That's definitely an aspect of it. I think the story of the 2010s was the merging or blurring of lines between social media influencer, that crowd, and the internet stars and the mainstream entertainment industry. So they successfully integrated themselves into the mainstream, and now the story of the 2020s I think is going to be the complete pornification of the mainstream, or just the mainstreaming of porn. It's kind of both happening at the same time.
It does feel like as much as Hollywood is growing more puritanical in how they seem to judge the outside world, the focus on sex in movies and television has never been more, like, whether we're talking Bridgerton or
it's about
Euphoria.
Pointing the finger at you.
Yes. They want to judge outwardly at you while still having to deal with all the constant sexual assault allegations and things that seem to happen within their industry. But it's always a spotlight outwards. It's never the fishbowl that should be pointed back at them. Do you want to start with any specific one of these?
How about Mia Khalifa's rebrand? That's how I found this topic was like popping. In
By the way, as a straight heterosexual male, it does not mean that I do not think that these women are not beautiful women. I will give them that.
I'm sure you don't know who Mia Khalifa is.
I have no idea. Who is that? I've never heard of her.
Never heard of this woman in my life. So she was recently interviewed by Bustle, and it's called "Please Respect Mia Khalifa's Rebrand."
I don't think I will.
On TikTok, the woman, briefly known as Pornhub's #1 performer, is amassing a more supportive, more female fan base.
I'm calling
Creeps
BS on
and
that.
jerks will be blocked.
By the way, I'm guessing that I will take a far more loose take on this than these two ladies. I'm a live and let live, I don't really care what you want to do person, but I don't buy for a second that her audience is growing more Yas Queen Slay.
Her article, in the article, they asked her about like the demographics of her audience on TikTok, and she said that I think her Instagram is
TikTok,
around
not her OnlyFans.
Right. No, not the OnlyFans.
Okay.
Her Instagram is like a quarter women.
That I might
her
buy.
TikTok is like 40% women.
It's really funny. Like I have like I'll always like sometimes you have like boomer relatives or friends who are older who like I don't think they can realize that you know who they follow on social media, and like you'll see they follow like somebody like that and you're like, oh man.
Well, you saw a little bit of that with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Just
Twitter, and we're like, whoa, what are you doing over there?
He was like
17-year-old boy.
He was like reposting like Bang Bros scenes on his Twitter page. Just like you go Kyle.
Get it, Kyle. I was just gonna say, this is my 2 cents on this. Do you guys remember when we used to look at the millennials and we were like, this stuff they're learning in school about self-esteem and social justice will never make it into the real world. They'll hit the real world and it will hit them like a slap in the face and they'll grow out of
it. They have successfully.
That is not what happened.
Nope.
And I feel like this is exactly what's happening with this. We're always like, don't do porn. It's going to ruin your reputation. You'll never recover
They're
from
like, watch me make millions of dollars.
Well, first of all, I think it's very unfair that she makes as much money as she does by being completely disrespectable and being like completely disrespecting herself and females as a whole. But capitalism being what it is, I understand this is where we're at. I respect it. I
liking
appreciate
the direction that this is.
I know you would. I knew that I was going to be on the opposite end of this one with you two.
I have this. I don't like pornography. I never have, and it's not because people talk about how it makes women feel like they're not sufficient or whatever. But that's not it. I genuinely feel like Kyle Kashuv tweeted about this today. He said, "Porn is free because you pay with your soul." And I think there might be something to that because I think that part of the hollowing out of American culture has been because of pornography. That has turned this kind of relationship with one another into this transactional, gross, weird, very much like it's bled over into the Tinder and Hinge hookup culture, and it's turned into like, this is why part of the reason women are unhappy. Like, it's very interlaced with a lot of the philosophical concepts that are turning our culture into such garbage, for lack of a nicer word.
I would have disagreed with you like a while ago. I would have said that one of the things that I found interesting about this is the examples these women gave about how they got interested in it. Meaning, like, I watched Playboy TV, or I watched
that they idolized someone like Anna Nicole Smith,
right?
Well, even that's kind of like,
or Chloe Cherry of Euphoria. She played Faye in Euphoria, but previously she was a porn star. She said that she started watching porn in her childhood.
I remember Billie Eilish said that she got like addicted to porn
she did
when
not
she was
like it
at a very young age.
Like, it's a real problem, and literal children should not be idolizing this line of work. It's hardly work because so many people get coerced into it.
So I just fact checked myself on this, but when you look at Anna Nicole Smith, she died of a drug overdose. To everyone who was idolizing her at the time, you need to ask yourself the question of why someone who is so beautiful and so successful, according to your own standards, that she died of a drug overdose. Yep. Something is wrong there.
There's a lot of instances of that. I was looking up
many such cases.
The of like, there was like 2017, it was like 4 or 5 mainstream like industry women either committed suicide or died of drug overdoses in very quick succession, and that caused the industry to kind of take a step back, and like they're like looking into like mental health services for the women involved, ways for them. Now, I don't know how you implement that. I know that they have rigid standards as far as like actual test, physical testing for diseases and stuff, but mentally, like, how do you do that? That's very, very difficult. And to me, it's becoming like, well, this industry, it used to be you ended up here. Now, what I'm guessing they're doing is they use the industry to grow their name first, and then they go out on their own and make their money individually, right? So you make movies through a big studio that promotes you heavily to start for a year, right? And then you can go and start your OnlyFans with 3 times the name recognition that you had before that, never have to work for a studio again, and make all your money on your own, which, it's, to be fair, is similar to like what we were talking about with Brandon Sanderson, the author who wrote books for big publishers,
right?
And got his name out there. And then once his name reached sufficient size, he was able to launch a Patreon to make his own books, and made millions and millions of dollars because his name was grown organically through these companies.
Right.
But now it's becoming like they don't need to actually have physical contact, which may theoretically be safer if they only have to work. You're talking more, and I'm guessing you guys are referring more to the dignity, what you consider the dignity in the social aspect. Well, I'm looking at it from like, are they like, have they found a safe way to do this on their own? If this is the career path they choose, whether we like it or not, I would prefer they did it in the safest way possible.
What bothers me almost as much as just like pornography in general is these former adult performers thinking that after they leave this industry, they can have complete control over what other people think of them.
What was
no.
the paragraph? I want you to talk that part. I agree with you. Can you find that part that was in the Mia Khalifa one?
I believe I found at least one of the paragraphs that really bristled me. Khalifa's modesty belies her resiliency
Please.
and the courage it took to show more of herself at a time when people were confident they'd seen it all. For years, she's been forthcoming in podcasts and on social media about feeling exploited as an insecure young woman at work and in relationships. But she references her journey with levity and occasionally righteous anger instead of self-pity.
As you can see that I am being far more like generous than I think you two are about this industry. And even that, I'm just like, dude, you made your bed. Lie. You have to lie.
And it's
I'm sorry.
Especially, it's so
I mean no ill
dishonest.
will to her. I'm just saying,
disingenuous to say she's feeling exploited. She felt she was exploited as an insecure young woman when the exploitation for a great deal of other porn actresses starts before they are a legal adult. And she entered this industry at 21 years old when she had as much judgment as a college grad, by the way, who could have entered the conventional workforce at like any time she felt like it. So no, you weren't coerced into doing this. You did this out of your own free will.
I understand they might be talking about modesty in the sense that she's not overtly proud of herself instead of like her physical modesty. To me, that makes sense. I understand she's not grandiose and self-aggrandizing, but at the same time, she had every opportunity in the world. Like you said, she did go to college. I remember she was commenting on the Israel-Palestine disagreement, and I was like, do not speak to me about Palestine, Miss Pornstar. I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to get into that here, but I was like, you are choosing to get out of your lane, and then you're saying people can't criticize me.
You're absolutely welcome to reinvent yourself and change your job, but you have to understand that it's going to come with critique. One of the hardest things about working for a company, as we do, is that you hold beliefs that a lot of society today, I guess not disagrees with, but have been bullied into not talking about online.
Right.
So you're going to face similar ostracization. Oh wow, did I get that right on the first try? Almost close. You're going to face, you're going to be ostracized in a certain way because the general public, especially on social media, has such a default liberal perspective that if you hold anything to the right of Stalin, you're seen as being antithetical to what they believe is like the democratic process in America now. It's not true, but it is a similar type of treatment that you're going to receive, and that you may get stuff like that on your social media, that people that disagree with you heavily and call you names.
Right.
It's similar to what they go through. I did find the Lana Rhoades one more interesting because she seemed to be more like she's a case of where she felt like she was no longer happy with what she was doing for her job, and she changed it. And that's like, if we're going to approach this as a topic of discussion, there has to be a path forward, right? We can't just criticize and tell them that what they're doing. I mean, I'm not telling you.
Hold on. I just but like, here's the thing. She entered the industry because of grooming. Like, straight up. Can we go into this paragraph? Rhoades previously said that she has always wanted to be part of the Playboy magazine. When she was just 13 or 14,
that was the
she would watch The Girls Next Door and fantasize about one day living a life similar to that of the glamorous and beautiful playmates inside the Playboy mansion, such as Anna Nicole Smith.
That was the paragraph that made me rethink about.
And it's like, this isn't a career path. It's not.
Well, it is. It's
like,
just one that that people disagree with.
But if it's inherently dehumanizing and you're coerced into it by grooming or by people who scout young women on the streets, literally, how is that a career path?
I do think we should have that conversation about human trafficking in porn, because Pornhub knew 100%. They knew that many of their actresses were underage. They turned a blind eye
non-consenting.
And non-consenting and being
even if they were
trafficked.
adults. Yeah.
Like, it was just blows my mind that people think that porn is like an institution that we need to uphold if we're going to be libertarian when you look at stuff like the trafficking. That's just my stance on
what
it.
kills me is that after they leave the like traditional route like Pornhub or whatever and they start their OnlyFans, they want to sit there and still applaud the women who stay in like their previous position and say like, if that's what they want to do, good for them. But like, it's not good for them. It's actively destroying people's lives.
So is Chloe Cherry the example you think of as the most successful in mainstream? Just because
because Mia Khalifa and Lana Rhoades went for like the social media influencer route and the OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And then Chloe Cherry went from basically like being a nobody. She was in porn, but she has become like recognizable from being in Euphoria, and also she's been on like high fashion runways.
Yeah.
Because of this, and it's been her launching pad for a mainstream celebrity career.
This may be the most real example of somebody who I think, I mean, how much I haven't seen Euphoria. Like I said, I can't watch anything with that much drug content given my past. How much of it is she in? A lot of it?
I never watched it. I just know that she has a major role in it.
So she's in more. It's not like a passing. It's not like a cameo. She's
also there was a rumor that she was cast because she filmed some porn parody of the show.
That's what they say.
But she actually had already landed the role before she did that. She did that because they had postponed filming because of COVID, and she just felt like doing that.
Yep. It says she went on to defend the rumor about Sam. Said, I don't want anybody talking. She's talking about the director, Sam Levinson, that they're saying that he only hired her because he saw her in like a movie, one of her movies. And she says that she revealed that she had filmed the parody an entire year after she landed the role of Faye. Mm-hmm. So she went on to defend the rumor about Sam, adding, I just don't like anybody hating on him. He's super professional and helped me a lot with all my interactions. So it's like, I imagine that once you get in that industry, it will be easier for her now that, like you said, the lines are blurred between social media influencer, somebody who works in that business, and all those industries are kind of vaguely interconnected. And it's becoming more and more prevalent in standard Hollywood, where it used to be at least shunned or seen as like lower tier. But Euphoria is as mainstream as it gets.
Am I the only one who thinks she looks exactly like a drug addict? I mean, holy moly. I feel genuinely kind of bad
like,
for her.
The lip injections are...
She's
they're
so
definitely
frail.
her signature look, but she looks like she's in pain all the time.
She also has she has a very familiar story, which is where she talks about like she was rebelling against religious upbringing. That's like his...
and also like watching porn in her childhood, which I think is a form of grooming.
Also, I'd like to, there was the paragraph, it was about, it says, I think a lot of it had to do with where I'm from, an Amish place. People were very religious, and it was very normalized where I was to not have sex until marriage, and people just hated sex and thought nobody casually had sex. So she's portraying her life experience as what everybody's life experience is here. It says, nobody did anything at all, and it really blew my mind, and it really effed with my brain, because I got this sense that sex is amazing, and we all really like to have it. She went on, I started watching a lot of porn when I was younger because of the fact that I wanted to see a world where people actually like to have sex and actually just admit that sex feels good and we want to do it. As long as it's done safely, it's fine. No human being wants to save themselves from marriage and only have sex with one person for their whole life.
But that's a bold statement.
I would like to drop a source, bro.
Yeah.
Here, like that's very clearly
that's
like
the thing. Like
projecting.
These people want to force their pornified ideas of relationships and sex onto the rest of us.
You want to talk about a religious upbringing? This sounds religious to me. To say that no one wants this.
This is
you realize
dogmatic.
How many billions of people there are in the world and how many different cultures there are? Give me a break.
I feel like maybe I wouldn't have been as into sex if people weren't so anti-sex. But
there is something to that.
But that's her life experience.
Right.
That's
in
not
very
everybody's...
isolated communities, but like that's not the culture as a whole, and it's not the culture she grew up in.
And she's right about the idea that if you tell people you can't do something, it makes them want to do it more. That's not an unfair statement to make. So it's just I don't know if this is do you believe that this is just a sign of like rot within within society?
Everything's falling apart.
That's your cheery.
That's my take.
Delightful.
That's your cheery
thumbs
take
up
today.
if you're listening on Spotify. Big thumbs up from me.
Yes. So I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm gonna be the milquetoast fence sitter here and say, look, they're adults. They can make the choices
But
they
they
want.
weren't adults when they decided that they
Yeah.
wanted to do this
Yeah,
because
that's
they
a
were
problem.
groomed by
That's-
the media.
You're never going to completely eliminate the industry. I think if we were to make a compromise here, maybe the best thing to do would be focus on the trafficking and the hyper illegal elements of
Okay.
it.
If we've accepted that we're not going to eliminate the industry, which I will never concede, but if we've accepted that, hypothetically, let's at least uphold the standard that there should be a very clear delineation between porn and mainstream entertainment.
Yeah.
Yes, there should be, and you are correct. Although I may disagree with you that we'll never get rid of this industry because this is literally one of the oldest.
No, I
professions.
honestly hope,
I know, I agree.
but I don't think it's possible.
I will say that at the end of the day, it absolutely must be cultural. It must come from the
Yep.
bottom up. There is so much work to be done by changing cultural enforcement. And I'm not talking about like forced monogamy or whatever Jordan Peterson got in trouble for talking about, even though he was clearly taken out of context. But we need to make it cool to do stuff like get married and be monogamous. We need to make it cool to have kids. We need to make it cool to have families. This is something I think conservatives could really push for. I think they've been constantly negative all the time instead of actually putting forth good, interesting alternative ideas that people want to hear about.
And like in the entertainment world, we need to like actually acknowledge the fact that sex in TV shows is boring. It
is.
does not serve storytelling
Nope.
at all. And
I-
Euphoria is so heavy-handed with it that it's like sterilized. It's so boring.
Dude, I annoy everyone around me because I don't think that sex scenes serve any purpose because our culture does not give a rat's patootie about sex. So it's completely pointless to even include it
Right.
at all. It doesn't further
You mean-
closeness.
You mean that they don't care about the sanctity of the act,
Right.
not that they don't care
Right.
about
It
sex.
well,
means
that people
nothing
are
to
so
them.
desensitized at this point.
Yes.
Why
Right.
is that considered like interesting
Right, or it's
and
transactional.
tantalizing to put in a TV show?
Yeah.
I will concede that maybe the most depressing thing in the entire world is network television strip clubs on TV.
Ugh.
It is
Cringe.
it's very funny. Seeing like guys put money on girls wearing clothes. I'm like, why would you do that? That makes if we're gonna talk about stuff that makes no sense, that makes no sense.
we were watching a Guy Ritchie movie the other night, and I was like, "Is this what a strip club looks like?" Because that lady looks like not a lady, and I don't know why anyone would go there and pay money for that. That's insane to me. But I'm a little bit old fashioned, I suppose.
I've got two old fat don't worry, ladies, I'm here trying to defend you the best I can, kind of, sort of, not
sort of.
really, in the best way that like somebody who's like trying to like keep the peace. What was it you described me as yesterday?
Oh my gosh, I said you were like agreeably disagreeable or something.
Are you the referee of PCC?
Yeah, he is.
That's
true.
Basically me. That's
true.
my job
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to try to
Yeah,
try to
because
see-
you're a little acerbic, and I respect that, but you're very agreeable and nice and genuinely care about people. But anyway, yeah.
So it's like I'm telling you I disagree with you, but I'm doing it after you leave. I'm like, you're wrong. No,
You're
no,
wrong.
It's I'm just trying to. I guess I think back when I had a Twitter for the entire time, it said lifelong devil's advocate. I'm that guy who
Yep.
probably ruined every relationship he was ever in, because when she's just complaining about something, I'm like, well, I can kind of see it from that
actually,
perspective.
You are well, actually, bro. My gosh, Brett.
I do not phrase it.
I guess somebody has to do it.
actually.
Well,
Actually.
I never said that. I'm like, I could see it from that. And like fun fact, they don't want to hear that.
They don't want to hear that.
No,
Nope.
no, nobody told me that.
No good.
So,
Surprise.
thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.